watching TDR TV, the home of Team Dobson Racing.
Oh yeah! All day, all night.
Now watching TDR TV 17, sponsored by British Surf. Thanks guys.
This week, my dad is racing at...
It's the Scotland weekend. We're going to Crimond and Cowdenbeath. 7 o'clock and we have... So we've just got to Dundee. We've done a round at work till 5:30 and then driven up to Strathmore Avenue Travel Lodge, Dundee. So there. Good morning. So this is morning. We're in Dundee. Last night were hard work, I'm not going to lie. Finishing work and then driving up. But we're here. Why are we here? Because obviously everyone has different opinions of Scotland. We said we weren't coming at all. We made that quite clear, and then we've suddenly changed his mind. We're not points chasing. We've got some really good points in the gold top, so we don't need any extra points. As such, I'd be happy to start where I am. So it's not that. It is just about, well, what's the best way of describing it really? We're in it for a good time, not a long time. I've always said that. We started quite late. I've wanted to race since I was a kid. We started quite late, and at some point my kids are going to get to an age where I can't race anymore. So one thing we've always said is we wanted to do as many tracks as possible. My biggest regret is we missed out on doing Coventry. We managed to do Bradford with it coming back. We managed to do Birmingham just before it shut. So we're going around the tracks. Crimond is the furthest track I'll ever race from home. So after a chat with a sponsor or two, we managed to get sponsored to come. So it made it a lot more inviting, let's put it that way. So at this point I realised that after a long night and a big journey, I was mumbling on a bit. So let's speed it on a bit. So not only do I like racing, but I've always said I wanted to go to every football stadium in the country. Well, I think this is classed as the country. And what's unique about this is, and I love the fact that I've got to see it, is these two must be the nearest grounds in the country to each other. So these are the two Dundee clubs. So you've got one behind me and one over there. So you've got Dundee's, I believe it's Dundee's and Dundee United's. I don't know which way around it is, but that's one of them. And that is literally the other. Not get closer than that. There you go, looking inside it. Crazy how close these two are. The hunger for football in this area must be massive. So just out of interest, we've got a bit of time this morning, so we've just been into the Dundee United store. Just got a little thing for our young'un. That sums up how close these places are. While in there, someone had a shirt printed with the name and everything on, to find that she should have literally been across the road in the Dundee shop to buy a shirt for a family member from there. She'd actually bought the wrong shirt, so she'd gone in and taken back a couple of other bits that weren't branded, but she's got stuck with a Dundee United shirt with someone's name on, and she should have literally been, I think it's about 4 doors up road, believe it or not, it's a souvenir shop for other football club. You won't get that anywhere else, would you? So, strange one. So there. We're there. Crimond Raceway. First looks. Bit more of an old school run around track. Square corners, lots of grass. Not the prettiest thing, but hey ho. So I've come out all the way up here without Cara. It's a good job because we're sharing the pits with Cara's faithful foe. She hates these things. Well, cows. Obviously we're by ourselves, so we're not getting a lot of footage of the races. We're just doing something now that we've never done before. We're out for practice. This track is so unique, I think we need to all have a go in it before we go out there, so we are doing. So let's see what happens. First free practice done. Very different. Turns 1 and 2 is it? Uphill fast as you can, put your foot down. Turns 3 and 4, if you get too giddy you can get some bounce on. Decent enough pace though. Don't think I'm going to mess with kart, it seems alright. Today.
On the inside line there, 26 from 317, 218, 210 and 544. Which goes in a bit further back from 544. Gets up the inside of the 210 car. 3 for third place goes 544 William Allen. 306 over here and they're right on the back up there. Here's the 544 car away. 306 now finds himself in the top 3. Looks to the inside of 317 there. Manages to get through for second place now. 306 overhand from now back to the grade.
Ollie can still drive, can't he?
Here into the tyres there for 218, 544. Martin's been doing again there. 218. Jake Watson might be out of this one. In the meantime, though, 306 overhand manages to get up the inside of the 26 car. And well clear into the race lead now goes the 306 driver. 306, on 26, 210, 317, 140 as your top 5. Still very close, hold the second place, 326, 210 and 317. Just looking straight ahead of the 3 Galaxy drivers there.
Race 1 done. We're starting pretty much at the back other than Charlie. So any positions are good. So in red we still got up to 5th. After that it just stayed pretty flat. Everybody got the positions after probably 2 laps and then not a lot changed other than that. Only big mover really with Graham Willett. His kart seems to be absolutely dialed in. But other than that, nobody else pulled up any trees. Freya is the only white. She raced a good race and managed to stay 2nd. And no one else could really get up to him. Myself, Thomas Brighton and Charlie all had a close race. Not a lot changed, we sort of just got stuck there, so no damage. Well, I say no damage, we have a clutch problem. That's not directly from the race. Probably weren't even slowing us down either, so we're no real advantage to getting it fixed, but we'll see how it goes. Well done to everybody though. We're on a good show. Our turn now. That was close. Crimond, that is Crimond. 500 odd miles or whatever it is, I don't bloody know, away from home, by myself. A few of us are, so I don't feel sorry for me. The track itself looks nothing special at all. Like, we're talking, if you know what Buxton looks like, it's worse. But damn good racing, so thank you to Crimond. Got a little gift off them, so we'd have to say thank you for that. If anyone's watching from Crimond, that means a lot. But the racing itself is really good. The track itself looks a little bit rough around edges, but it makes some fantastic racing, so you can't fault it for that. I'm not doing too many videos in between races, have you noticed, because I can't and I don't want to bore you too much, so let me sum it up. Obviously you've seen that first race I got 5th, second race we got 5th, third race we got 5th, and the final we got 4th. Graham has been absolutely wired all week, all day, sorry, and he took some catching, and in the final we started in a procession, one behind each other, and if we had any chance it was to push him. The push came and it sort of just didn't really do out, and he managed to get away. I was running 3rd for a while behind Freya, who's had a decent day racing as well today. She made it really tough for me to get through, and Graham were getting away, and nobody were ever going to catch him. We then managed to get Charlie and Thomas managed to get past Freya, and I took opportunity and got past her as well. And then really me, Thomas and Charlie had a bit of a battle watching Graham disappear. Freya kept on his tail as well. I think us 5 sort of pulled away from everyone else, to be fair. So yeah, good racing, fantastic racing, and I think everybody's kept it clean and fair, so that is it. I've now got a 2.5 hour drive back to the hotel for the night, and then in the morning we head to Cowdenbeath, which has got about an hour from where I am. So heck of a journey, a lot of driving, off to put some diesel in and try and find some food, because I've had nothing since 8 o'clock this morning, and it is now yeah, 9:15. Might need some food. But on that note, well done to Graham for being wired, well done to everybody for having some good results today and racing well, and thank you to Crimond. See you.
A few moments later.
Cowdenbeath, we are here. This is the entrance into Cowdenbeath. The gates are strangely shut, so is there another way in? I don't know, I'll find out in a minute. So as you can see, we're here at Cowdenbeath, and the weather is absolutely naff. Cowdenbeath is a particularly fast track with a very hard wall, and the rain will certainly make it very interesting. It's going to kill how many people's watching as well, I'm sure. As the last time we were up here, it was absolutely packed. But let's see. All we can do is put some good tyres on, bump them up, and off we go. So Cowdy is wet through. 2 races in, because we're doing 3 races and a final. First race we got to set up for wet because it was wet, but we misjudged it a little bit. It was slippy for everybody. Still managed to come home in points in 9th, but there was just no pace. We were never going to catch them at front, because every time we put the foots down, it'd make you spin, so you couldn't do what you need to do, and that's push yourself further forward. Second race, it looked like it was going to be dry. The track had dried out, so a few of us went to dry setups. I managed to bodge a middle ground setup, but it weren't wet, because we'd got ready for dry and it were raining just as we got in carts. Terrible timing. But with the time I had, I managed to mess about with pressures quickly, but ended up with nothing of a setup, and it was just like being Bambi on ice then. I think we're finishing points again, but it was awful to drive. It was so back end happy, even down straights, it's unreal. But that's the joys of it. The track was literally dry as a bone. just before we got in carts, so we all went for dry, or some of us did. Probably have been better leaving it wet, because you can probably drive a wet setting in dry but not drive a dry setting in the wet. So we're going to go full wet now because rain's coming down and nothing else has happened, and see what it's like. My cart doesn't really react well to a wet setting, that's the problem. So miracles, let's see what happens. See there. Long story short, you've either got it in the wet or you haven't. We cannot get the wet setup sorted at all. It's greasy and everybody's spinning, but we can't even put his foot down on straights. We've been saying it for weeks. Today's as good a practice as anywhere. We've got 4 races. We've done 2 and got it wrong so far. Fingers crossed. So yeah, we tried a different setup. It's felt a bit better. I mean, the track is sodden now, it's like a river. But as soon as we got spun in race 3, we never stood a chance of catching up. Obviously when you spin, you end up trying harder to catch back up. We overtook a couple, but nothing major. Nobody else really made mistakes. It was just a damn slow race where everyone was just being really cautious. And I were probably over trying because I was so far behind. I think our cart's limitations have been found out in the wet, and it's really frustrating. How do you practice and set it up? I'm trying today, but it just seems to be small margins we're getting. I'm not sort of making the inroad into where I want. So back to the drawing board. We've got the final. We don't stand a chance, but let's hope we put a show on for the good numbers that are sat in grandstand considering the shite weather. Today. So Scotland. So I'll not bore you too much because it was a long weekend, so there's a lot to talk about really. I could go into massive details, but I'm not going to do. Obviously we've already said why we decided to do Scotland, and I've missed out on one particular other thing. This next couple of months we're not going to be able to race that much, so don't want to just get a red top and suddenly never race as a red top. So Scotland not only was doable due to sponsorship in the end, but it was also an interesting weekend to try and do. To practice as well with the grids not being massive. We didn't need the points as such because I don't know whether that's really going to matter anyway. I mean, we're already on grid for gold roof, so that's it. But we went up there. Crimond was worth going to. It's a bit rough and ready around the edges, but it was really good racing, and obviously we were in points 5th and 4th every race. More than anything, we seemed to have some decent pace. I sort of kept up with Thomas and Charlie. We couldn't catch the front, but at least I knew we had some half decent pace there, and the car was pretty well wired in as such. Probably could have got a bit more, but didn't really want to tweak too much and mess it up. Sunday, Cowdenbeath, spoilt for me. I'm not going to lie, our kart is just not racing in the wet. Some of it might be me, might be my talent that's run out, but when I first got the kart, it did race in the wet, and for the first season or so, wet and shale races were fine, and it handled just as good as everyone else. But the problem is, since it had some big damage, it's not been the same. So question marks over whether it's the kart or the driver, who knows, but we just don't seem to be able to dial it in at all. So I weren't looking forward to it on the Sunday. But we went out, we tried a few different settings. We got points in a couple of the races, but unfortunately in the third race, when we thought we'd got the setting just right, we got spun out and had to play catch up, so that was no good to us. The final, I've not done a video on the day because I was just gutted, I'm not going to lie. A little bit of frustrations, I think, happening with the weather being so bad, led to some slightly more aggressive racing, some that probably weren't needed as such, and we ended up getting absolutely buried into the wall. It's caused a lot of damage, and it's a poor end to a good weekend, really. Overall, like I said, I've really enjoyed driving to Scotland. The views are brilliant and the races were fantastic. We got some really good results, but we have come home with a very poorly kart. We've only had a quick look at it, but we can already tell that we've got a snap chain, we've got a bent axle, both as top wing and as front wings are damaged. We've got a puncher, as wheel is bent. We've got a snap plug-in, we've got a bent front bumper, we've got a snapped side bumper, as accelerator cable snapped, as wing mirrors broken. They're all fixable. You know, I've got most of them spares probably, but there's quite a lot of time and effort going into that. The biggest problem we've got is the chassis is now bent. When you've got a bent chassis, the whole kart changes. The weight distribution changes, the way it races changes, everything about it will now have changed. So we're probably going to have that looked at. So we weren't going to be doing a lot of racing these next few weeks, but the only one we were really probably going to do is Skegness, and that really does leave us question marks over doing Skeggy now. So it's a little bit unlucky. We took a risk and it didn't quite work out, but we like I said, we have to go back to the fact that really enjoyable weekend. Again, we've got to thank the Crimond and Cowdenbeath staffs for it, and Ian for doing it. Didn't think it were going to be the thing to do, but in the end it worked out quite nice. We didn't use quite as much diesel as what we thought, and overall the weekend was pretty good, other than the ending. So like I said, we've done this video at the end because if I'd have done one yesterday, I'll be honest with you, I was gutted. We had to drag the kart into the back of the van, and as you can tell, we've got a long list of damage, but we've done it now. We've raced at Crimond, and that is the Scottish weekend done. Not sure when we'll be out next now. It may either all fall into place or we could struggle, but one way or another. Let's see how it goes. See you.
And here we can see the aftermath. Once getting out of the van...
Right, jokes aside, guys, obviously once we got it out of the van, we realised there were quite a lot of damage. Accelerator pedals broke. The worst thing about it is the chassis is not only split at the front, it's also split at the back. All jokes aside, this could be us out for quite a long time. The time of it is horrendous with holidays and stuff coming up.
So, thanks for watching TDR TV, guys. See you all soon. Civi.